I'd like to thank our reader, Bill Jones, and our music team, as well as Gary Lynn Floyd for providing a special chant for us today. On this holiday weekend, when we celebrate our freedom, let's first thank all of these people who have gone before us to set us free. Our military personnel who have fought over the centuries, those who stood up for our rights, and those who have guided us and shown us how to embrace the most important aspect of freedom, that freedom to be ourselves, free to be me, and how to be that person within you who sometimes hides aspects of yourself for whatever fear might show up. Today's message provides specific suggestions and spiritual tools that you can use to make your own choices and to find that spirit within you that was given to you to make you powerful, loving, and self-disciplined. What I know is that God knows only wholeness, completeness, perfection, and knows all of humankind as whole, perfect, and complete. God knows nothing of fear and needs no forgiveness. Forgiveness is a process for which we move from the idea of our separation from God, from our good, into a recognition of the unity with God. Forgiveness is a shift in consciousness from fear to love. And it moves us out of victimhood and into a recognition that life always supports us. And when we know that in the depths of our being, we are free to be exactly who we are. But first, our question for the week. What is the one choice that you can make today to remember to know and be passionate about how you can be free to be yourself so that everything else is easier or unnecessary? One more time. What is that one choice that you can make today to remember to know and to be passionate about how you can be free to be yourself so that everything else is either easier or unnecessary? Isn't there a little part of you that loves that phrase about everything else being easier or unnecessary when we try to be free to be ourselves? Freedom. What does it mean to you? Let's start with a dictionary definition. The power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Or the state of being free or at liberty rather than in confinement or under physical restraint. Think about that. Freedom is a state of being. Wayne Dyer in Staying on the Path wrote this: a special kind of freedom is available to you if you're willing to take the risk involved in getting it. The freedom to wander where you will about life's terrain, to make all your own choices. Many a military person has taken great risk for us to have our freedom. Is it true that freedom is not free? What is the cost of your freedom? Are there places that you hide the real you? People who have no idea who the real you really is. In Timothy 1:2 we read, "For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline." Our theme for the whole month of July is freedom. And what I've learned is that sometimes we give away our own power and then fail to feel free. It's essential that each of us remember freedom is indeed a state of being. It's a state of mind. Victor Frankl, whom I suspect most of you know, spent quite a bit of time in Nazi prison camps, wrote what I consider one of his most profound insights. Forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess, except one thing: your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation. Think about the powerful message that statement sends us. The freedom to choose how we respond can never be taken away from us. Yet, how do we choose to respond to ourselves and others? Before I answer that, here's a question for you. Are we truly following the words of Jesus? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, or love thy neighbor as thyself. When we imprison ourselves with our own thoughts. Imprisoning ourselves is definitely not a way to live, and it wouldn't be wonderful for our neighbors either. And yet, we are so good at putting ourselves down, at seeing our own flaws, at looking at what we need to improve, and overlooking all the things that we do right. Have you ever been there? I know I have. Ernest Holmes in Religious Science wrote, "The divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. All instinctively feel this. The truth points to freedom under law. Thus, the inherent nature of man is forever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom. We shall do well to listen to this inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in its scope, of a love beyond our fondest dreams, and of a freedom the soul craves." I love that quote. Bondage is not God ordained. So why do so many of us find ourselves putting ourselves in bondage? Fear? Doubt? Don't you want the freedom that your soul craves and the ability to have love beyond your fondest dreams? I know I do. When we choose to give up our freedom, we give away our power to those who believe that they know more about who we are and who we've come here to be than we know ourselves. And freedom starts right where we are. And one of the key practices that allows us to feel more free is the practice of forgiveness. Forgiveness moves us from victimhood, which is the first kingdom of consciousness, to the recognition of a life that supports us. There's only one life, and that life is God, and that life is my life now. And it's your life now. So how do we shift from fear and giving away our power to love? Shift from fear, which I like to say is forgetting everything is always right, to loving yourself, being kind to yourself, and forgiving whatever you see as your shortcomings or your limitations. Forgiveness is not weakness. It's one of the most courageous things that we as humans are called to do. It's not weak, passive, or for the faint of heart. It calls us to know the depth of our own courage and trust in our own relationship with our God of our understanding. And forgiveness isn't an intellectual process either. It's a process that requires spiritual intelligence. When we forgive, we have to surrender our beliefs to the power of God within us that knows better than we do how to shift from fear to love. We have to examine our relationship with that indwelling presence and surrender in deep trust that we know our wholeness, our completeness. I know that phrase of the Course in Miracles is absolutely correct. All expressions of love are maximal. Everything I forgive, however small, helps me to my unity with God. And it's easier to surrender when we know we're supported. There's a great example in the Bible. Jehoshaphat was the fourth king of Judah. He knew he was supported because in going into battle, here's what he said. Thus saith the Lord unto you, be not afraid, nor dismayed by reason of this great multitude. For the battle is not yours, but God's. O Judah, fear not, but tomorrow go out against them, for the Lord will be with you. You shall not need to fight this battle. Set yourself. Stand ye still and see the salvation of the Lord. The battle you're trying to fight is not yours. It's God's. Be still. Let go. And because it's God's battle through you, God desiring to manifest through you, victory is always on your side before even the battle begins in your own consciousness. For there's the only place where there is any battle is in our minds. We were born into this planet whole, perfect, and complete. And as we grew in our awareness of things, we began to take on beliefs in our consciousness about ourselves or others that are not true. There's no truth to any limitation we believe. And yet, we allow that battle in our minds. I can't do this because you fill in the blank. We all have our favorites. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. Thomas Troward, in The Power of You, wrote, what then is the motif of life? Surely it must be to express its own livingness. Then in the true order, all modes of life and energy must converge towards this end. And it's only our short-sightedness that prevents us from seeing this, from seeing that the greater the harmony of the whole life, the greater will be the inflow of that life in each of the parts that are giving it expression. This is what we want to learn with regard to ourselves, whether as individuals, classes, or nations. Do you truly want to live in anything other than harmony? Then give up your short-sightedness. God knows only its divine nature and knows us through that divine nature as well. There's no amount of belief that makes separation from God real. We can't separate from our good. We can believe we can, but we really can't. We can feel that union intuitively in the depth of our being, and we see it reflected in all life around us, in all of nature. Everything that we experience in our lives is set up to support us. Even the things or situations that may seem tragic give us opportunities to look at where we are holding on to a belief in our separation. And then we have an opportunity to course correct, to align with who we are in God. This is not to trivialize in any way human pain and suffering, which certainly occurs. Rather, it empowers us to see it differently, not from the point of view of victim, but from the point of view of the God that we are. We begin from right where we are to understand that beneath the drama of human life is an opportunity to realign with our true self. Life simply shows us our subjective belief. In The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes told us, humanity's mind should swing from inspiration to action, from contemplation to accomplishment, from prayer to performance. This would be a well-balanced existence. In addition to knowing that we're supported, we must also be able to fully surrender fear to love and live in the present, in this now moment. The Bible tells us how, as Sodom was being destroyed, God told Lot and his family not to look back. Lot's wife disobeyed, and she was turned into a pillar of salt. The story is a metaphor. Salt is a preservative. When we clutch at the old after it no longer serves us, we become petrified. We cannot preserve the past. We must release it to make way for a fresh new future. I think I would be remiss to address the freedoms that seem to be taken away from us this week, especially from women. This could be another whole message, I realize, but I offer you a mantra instead. One that enhances that we are supported in all aspects of our lives. It's simple. We just embed in our thoughts that God is in everything, and add to any doubts this phrase, even in the apparent absence of. Here's some examples. Even in the apparent absence of harmony, there's harmony. Whether that harmony be political, socio-economical, or personal. Even in the apparent absence of kindness, there is kindness. Even in the apparent absence of support, there is support. Even in the apparent absence of love, there is love. Even in the apparent absence of justice, there is justice. God is in everything. And since we know that there's no spot where God is not, God must be in that absence of justice somewhere. It's essential that we clearly know that God is much bigger than any incident, and that change comes only through love, not the perpetuation of more violence, even if that violence is simply holding hatred in our hearts for decisions with which we do not agree. Let me repeat that. Even if the violence is simply holding hatred in our hearts for decisions with which we do not agree. I invite you to see what is happening from a higher perspective. God is in it somewhere. We just perhaps do not see where the good is going to show up. So let us learn to forgive so that we can truly be free and be all that we can be. Alan Cohen, in A Deep Breath of Life, wrote this: forgiveness is not just a wimpy act of withholding an attack from a wrongdoing. It is a dynamic, creative, and practical force that has the power to manifest miracles. When we let go of judgment, we free ourselves to enjoy a peace that surpasses anything the world has to offer. The power of forgiveness is misunderstood and underused. It is a sacred gift employed by those who recognize that their true safety comes not from worldly manipulation, but from faith in a higher power. There is nothing in this world that cannot be healed by forgiveness. There is nothing in this world that cannot be healed by forgiveness. It's a dynamic, creative, practical force that has the power to manifest miracles. So let forgiveness set me and everyone free, so that I can truly be free to be me. So in summary, we looked at what it takes to embrace the freedom to always be yourself. And to do that, remember that freedom is a state of being. Embrace in your consciousness the freedom your soul craves. Forgiveness is a big tool. It moves us out of victimhood. God supports us. There's only one life. And there's no truth to any limitation we believe. Find freedom by living in the present moment. Holding on to the past only petrifies our life. Even in the apparent absence of love, there is love. Let forgiveness set me and everyone free. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it I so easily and willingly make the choice today to remember to know and to be passionate about how I can be free to be me, so that everything else is either easier or unnecessary? And your challenge for the week is to forgive yourself something you've been holding on to. Notice the first step you might take towards being loving, kind, and forgiving yourself. And I invite you to check in once or twice daily to see if you're beating yourself up about anything. Those places you might be petrified by hanging on to the past. Let's pray. We take a deep, nourishing breath. And we just move to that place within us where we know the divine, where we know that support system that truly knows our perfection, our completeness, our wholeness. Within each of us is all of the power that we need, all of the love that we need, all of the freedom that we need to choose to be exactly who we are in life. To choose to live from that freedom of being ourselves. What I know to be the truth is that each of us this week is truly thinking about where we give away our power, where we allow others to make decisions that are not the essence of who we are, where we allow other people to usurp our own power, and where we find ourselves berating our own selves about something that we did that maybe wasn't our best in that moment. What I know is that freedom to be who we are is a choice. It's a state of mind. And I know that each of us has the ability to choose that. So I am grateful. I am grateful to know that the God without is the God within me, and that God is the God within everyone on this planet. And it's from that gratitude that I just release my words into that law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing that when I place this at the heart of the divine, the answer is always yes. It's already done. So, knowing that, I can just say amen, and we can affirm it together. And so it is. So I'm continue to be grateful every week for all the donations that are coming in to help us find a new place to meet and be in person as we continue our online services. Thank you so much. Enjoy our offertory song.